Hello guys, welcome to RSK-Code tutorial. I hope you like my previous video where I talked about internal implementation of Spring Boot. Now in this video, I am gonna talk about another topic that is dependency injection and inversion of control in Spring Boot. For dependency injection, you will find questions like what is dependency injection? What is IOC container in Spring Boot? How loose coupling works in Spring Boot? Types of dependency injection. To understand answer for these questions, let us understand first what is inversion of control. Inversion of control is a principle in software engineering which transfers the control of objects or portion of a program to a container or a framework. We must often use it in the context of object-oriented programming. IOC enables a framework. IOC here is inversion of control. It enables a framework to take control of the flow of a program and make calls to our custom code. To enable this, framework use abstraction with additional behavior built in. If we want to add our own behavior, we need to extend the classes of the framework or plug in our own classes in the framework. Now, in simple words, IOC is a way in which we do not control our object creation or updation. It is done by a framework for us. We just use those objects. In our case, the framework is Spring Boot. Now, let us understand some advantages of using IOC. So, in IOC, it decouples the execution of a task from its implementation, and it makes easier to switch between different implementation. It also provides greater modularity in our program, and it also provides greater ease in testing. A program, we can test a program by isolating a component or mocking its dependency and allow component to communicate through contracts. So these are some advantages of our inversion of control architecture. So how we can implement inversion of control? So we can achieve inversion of control through various mechanisms such as strategy design pattern, service locator pattern, factory pattern, and dependency injection. So dependency injection is famous in Spring Boot. In all these ways, we now focus on dependency injection. Dependency injection is a fundamental concept in Spring Boot and plays a crucial role in managing the relationship between different components in an application. At its core, DI is a design pattern that promotes loose coupling and modularity by allowing objects to depend on each other through interfaces rather than concrete implementation. So by loose coupling, here it means that our code is not dependent on other code if any changes happen. We do not need to go and update our code every time any changes happen in that code. So this is what means by loose coupling. In Spring Boot, the responsibility of managing objects dependency is delegated to inversion of control container. This IOC container is a key component of Spring Framework that handles the creation, configuration, and wiring of objects, that is beans, based on their declared dependencies. So in Spring, we mostly call our objects as beans, and IOC container handles those beans by creating, configuring, and wiring of those beans. With the help of dependency injection and the IOC container, we can define our beans as classes or components and specify their dependencies by using following ways. So these three are type of dependency injection Spring Boot. We have constructor injection, we have setter injection, we have field injection. The IOC container takes care of instantiating the beans and injecting the required dependency automatically. We can do this configuration by using XML or annotation. Now let us understand how DI and IOC works in Spring Boot. Here's a breakdown how it works. So first we declare our dependencies. You define your beans by annotating the class with appropriate annotations such as component, service, or repository. So these annotations indicate that the class is a Spring managed bean. Now, after this dependency injection, you can inject dependencies into your beans by using annotations like @autowire or @inject. These annotations enable the IOC container to identify the required dependencies and provide them to the bean. IOC container configuration. In this IOC container, Spring Boot is configured through annotations such as @configuration and @bean. These annotations allow you to define additional beans, customize their instantiation, and specify any additional configuration required. Now, fourth, automatic wiring. IOC container automatically resolves and wire dependencies based on the declared type. It searches for the required bean in its container and inject them through the independent bean. So to understand this, let us see a diagram. Here we create a class with annotation like @component or @service. Here is the example of class A. Then we create an object of that class in another class. So in class B, we are creating object of class A, object A, and auto wiring this with annotation @autowire. This annotation @autowire tells IOC container to identify the bean and create an object and inject its dependency in the class. So when I created this @component annotation on the class A, it created a bean inside IOC container named as class A bean. And when in class B, I annotated @autowire annotation, it tells IOC container to identify that class A bean and inject it in class B. This also representing a loose coupling in our class because we are not creating an object of class A in our class B, it is handled by IOC container. So this is called loose coupling in Spring Boot. Now guys, let us understand this DI with a code example and also understand why we need a DI or IOC container in our Spring Boot, how it help us. Let us go to our code example. In our code example, let us understand how dependency injection and IOC container help us in creating a loose coupled code. How it help us in creating a bean, an object for our code. Let's say I have a person class and person class can have a name and a person can have a job. Now let's create a job class. This job class can have a ID and it can have a role. Now this person class needs a job object. Okay. Now let's create this job object in our constructor. New job, and let's pass this name as input. Okay. Now this job object needs a ID and role also for this person. So let's create a constructor here also. Public job string ID comma string role. This dot ID is equal to ID. This dot role is equal to role. Now we need to pass ID and role for this job. So let's say ID is 1 and role is software engineer. Now I have a job object. Now, for example, let's say I want this job to have a salary also. Now, uh, I came back here after a 1 month and I need to update the salary object also here. So I'll go to job, salary. This job object was updated by someone else and it was handled by a company. So this job, and they now also want to add a salary object for this class. But this person class is using this job object because it has a job, and now I need they have updated the salary object also in this class. This dot salary is equal to salary. Now we can go, if I come back again after some time, I can see my code is breaking and it is saying that it has a salary also. Now I need to handle salary also. For example, it is 5 LPA. Now in some time this job object will have different fields, and different fields will be added in their constructor, and I again and again my code will break, and this breaking will give me an issue. I want to handle this job object that it should be handled by some other person, so that's why I do not need to do anything whenever this job object is changing. So this is where it is saying that it is very hard coupled on this job object. And here our inversion of control and dependency injection help us, so that we do not need to do anything for this job object. We get this detail by dependency injection. So how to do that? We just tell our code, our framework, that create component for person and job object. After that, just add auto wire to my job object, and that's it. Now this job is has become a bean for my Spring Boot, and this auto wire annotation will be handled, will enable my IOC container to identify this job object and create a object of job in its bean container, and that whenever I want to use this job object with any function or something. For example, this job object has a function public string get or show rule. It will return me this dot role. And now I want to use this job dot show role in some function in my person class. So for example, I have a function here, public void display this dot job dot show role, and I am just printing out this job role with the help of sysout. Now this is where I am using this functionality. Now I do not need to care where my job object is creating or not. I do not need to handle that. So this is where our dependency injection and inversion of control container help us loose coupling this code. And now let us understand the three kind of auto wiring or dependency injection. This one is called as field injection. If I put this auto wire here at the constructor, it is called constructor injection. And if I create a setter for my job class and I put my auto wire there, so this is called setter injection. Let me show you all three together. So this is example of field injection. This is example of constructor injection. And this is example of setter injection. So these three kind of injection we have, dependency injection we have Spring Boot. We can use any one. The most popular is constructor injection and field injection. And the uh, best practice says regarding field injection also, but it is our choice which one we wanna use in between them. I hope you understand the dependency injection IOC container and Spring Boot. Let me know if any doubt, any question you have, or any feedback you want to give me. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you. Thank you, guys.